Welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 493 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, I'm not really asked to agree with me, I'm asking you to hear me out. I don't like starting the episode on a somber note. Obviously, I don't want to start the episode on a somber note, but it would be disheartening and disingenuous if I didn't start this episode with JuJu Watkins. For people, obviously, that don't know, JuJu Watkins, the phenomenal player in college basketball, tears her ACL, I believe, in the second round of the NCAA tournament, meaning she's out for the tournament for sure. And depending on how long the recovery is, she could be out for majority of next year. And next year, seeing how good she is, probably would have been her final year in college basketball. She would have been a junior, or she's going to be a junior, and she tears her ACL. There's always a heartbreaking feeling when a player gets injured. I know you never want to see anyone get hurt. It doesn't matter if you like a team. It doesn't matter if you don't like a team. You never want to see anyone get hurt. And what's unfortunate about this is the type of player that JuJu Watkins is. And what I mean by type of player is her importance to her team makes this injury devastating, not just for her, but for USC and their chances on winning a national championship, or at least making it to a championship. I know they have Kiki, who was at Stanford last year. She transferred and she's incredible, but JuJu Watkins is the best player. Now, and on top of that, outside of JuJu and Kiki, it is a very young team. So it's unfortunate, man. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because there's such a domino effect from this injury. And again, I pray for a speedy recovery. And again, you never want to see anyone, especially someone as great as JuJu Watkins, get hurt in this type of manner. You never want to see him get hurt where it would affect the team, but that's what happened. Sports is sports. And it's just, what also sucks is, like I said, she's going to probably miss a lot of next season. And I know people don't like to admit this, but it's true. This is the third, fourth, maybe even fifth year in a row that the women's side of college basketball has been more interesting, has been more intriguing, has been flat out better than the men's side. I'm not disrespecting it. I'm just being honest. There's more stars. There's more storylines. There's better competition. The women's side has been better. When we talk about the big names, you look at Paige Beckert, you look at JuJu Watkins, Caitlin Clark when she was in Angel Reese. There are big names in the college sports realm, and a lot of them are on the women's side of the bracket. And there's no question that JuJu Watkins is one of, if not the best players in college basketball. Her importance to USC, her importance to college basketball in general is can't be stated enough. And missing a piece like that for a lot of the year is going to hurt ratings. Now, yes, there are some incredible women that are still going to be able to carry the load, but those incredible women are not JuJu Watkins. And I'm not taking away from anybody else. I'm just saying that's just honest. Like, JuJu is the draw. Now, I'm not telling people to go, not watch women's college basketball. I'm just saying that her absence will be felt. And more immediate, her absence is going to be felt big time this tournament. You see, A lot of people, I mean, they're number one in their region. A lot of people felt that USC could at least make it to a national championship. Okay, I'm not going to say at least. Could at least make it to a Final Four. And that is looking like what it was going to happen before JuJu Watkins got hurt. Now, I'm not saying, and this is no offense to Kansas State. Kansas State has been hooping. Like, those women have been going crazy. Shouts out to them. They've been great all year. They don't have a big name player like a Paige Beckers, like a, JuJu, but they have been great. And this is no disrespect to them. Because Kiki is still there, there's a reason why I'm not trying to say her last name. I don't want to butcher it. I'm not even going to attempt. With JuJu, I have all the confidence in the world that USC could have and probably would have beat Kansas State and faced off against UConn in the final Elite Eight. I don't know if that's the case anymore. Because when you lose a player this seismic, when you lose a player this important to your program, this important to your team, when the whole team is built around your talent, that's kind of what's going on with the what team? It's an NBA team where the best player is out. And when you build around that player and then that player's not there, yes, you have other players that could for instance, Golden State. We're going to talk about Golden State a little bit later in the show, but Golden State, their whole team, their whole format is built around the greatness of Steph Curry. Even with Jimmy Butler, their greatness is built around that. But when Steph Curry is out, even though as great Jimmy Butler is, as great as Draymond Green is, it is extremely challenging because they didn't sign up to be the best player on the team. The team isn't built for them to be the best player on the team. It's built for Steph Curry to be the best player. Same thing with USC. While Kiki is great, while they have some really good young pieces, the team is built around JuJu. And with JuJu not being there, it drastically, they could beat Kansas State. In fact, I know the game is on Friday. I will go out on a limb and say they will beat Kansas State. I might be wrong. Who knows? But that, in my opinion, without JuJu is where that stops. I don't foresee them beating a UConn without someone as great as JuJu Watkins. That's just truth. Again, I wish for a speedy recovery. She is going to be extremely missed in the college game. And her importance to the college game cannot be understated. And while I'm saying all this, I realize that everything I just said is secondary to what's important, and that is a young lady getting healthy. There are moments that really put things into perspective. And, watching JuJu go down and seeing her writhing in pain really puts into perspective that this is just a game. That at the end of the day, while this is important to a lot of people, hell, this is the reason why I'm here talking about sports. This is the reason why whoever's listening is listening. This is the reason why people at ESPN have a job. People at Fox Sports have a job. A lot of people at USC have a job. It's sports is a unifier. But it doesn't supersede the importance of being a human, the importance of caring. And the importance to college basketball, everything that I just said, man, her importance to USC as far as their chances of winning a national championship, her importance to just basketball in general, doesn't really matter. I hope that she is okay mentally. I hope that her family is surrounding her with love. And I hope that the next time we see her on a basketball court, she is healthy and happy. That's it. I pray for a speedy recovery for JuJu. Let's move over to another topic that has been running rampant seemingly all tournament on the men's side, and that is NILs and mid-majors. I think the stat is this is the first time since 2007, I believe, that a 11th seed or higher, lower, 11 seed or lower is not in the Sweet 16. And you're hearing the NIL is the death of the mid-major because of the NIL, because of transfer portal. This is the end of college basketball. This is the end of March Madness. You're hearing so many takes about this and so many different points of views. And a lot of them have some validity to it. Let me first explain the superpower that mid-majors had going into March Madness. You see, there is a reason why a lot of times 90% of the time, 99% of the time, a 16 seed cannot beat a 1 seed. It has happened, but 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. The reason is, obviously, when you look at ranking, the 16 seed is looked as the worst team, maybe the team that just got in, going up against the best team in the region or the best team in the tournament. But the superpower that a lot of these mid-majors had, I don't say have anymore, I said had. The superpower that a lot of these mid-majors had over the bigger schools is they would retain talent. A lot of their talent would not be able to transfer, or maybe didn't have the offers, or maybe just couldn't work or didn't work at a Power 5 school. So they'd go to a mid-major and they would stay for 3 years. They stay for 4 years. So once you get to the tournament, one thing I'll say is this: talent supersedes everything. If you're not talented, it doesn't matter. Now, the blessing is every team that is in college basketball, every team that's participating in the tournament is talented. The superpower is a lot of the mid-majors was senior-laden teams. And when you're talented, the thing that freshmen and a lot of sophomores don't really have is obviously experience. And when you just have talent, that's the thing. That's the not issue, but that's the thing that's held Coach Calipari back his entire career. There's a reason why, with all the NBA players that has gone through Kentucky when he was a coach, or gone through Memphis like Derrick Rose, and now in Arkansas, the reason why he has won national championship. Mind you, he's had John Wall, he's had DeMarcus Cousins, he's had Devin Booker, he's had not DeAndre Ayton, he's had Bam Adebayo, he's had De'Aaron Fox, he's had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's had who else has he had? He's had Eric Bledsoe. Like I said, Derrick Rose when he was in Memphis. There's a reason why he has won national championship, and that's because once you get to the tournament, talent alone doesn't win you national championships. It has to be talent, it has to be experience. You don't see a lot of freshman-led or freshman-heavy teams win the national championship. That's kind of why I'm still, even though I am admittedly a hater in this situation, that's why I'm not extremely high on Duke, because they're all freshmen pretty much. But mid-majors would always have senior-laden teams, which gave them an advantage. When you're talented, when you're experienced, you will always have a leg up. That doesn't mean you're necessarily guaranteed to win. But when you look at a lot of the national championships, they have experience. They have junior and senior led teams. That was always a mid-majors superpower when we talk about college basketball in the tournament. Like how a FAU was able to make a deep run, or San Diego State was able to make a deep run. They had senior-laden teams. Remember Florida, Dunk University, Florida Gulf Coast, senior-laden teams. This is where I feel the arguments that I'm hearing bring some type of validity. NIL and the ability for schools to pay out NIL deals essentially, I'm not going to say killed, but I'm going to say made it 10 times harder, not for mid-majors to compete in the tournament, but for mid-majors to retain talent. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how high of a mid-major rank you have. You will never have enough or have more money than an Auburn. You will never have more money than a Florida. You'd never have more money than a Duke. You'd never have more money than an Alabama. And now that's why the first day of the transfer portal, you see 200 plus students enter the transfer portal, some of which are actually still playing, i.e. Scottie Pippen's son, plays from Michigan, is not playing anymore because he put his name in the transfer portal. Why the transfer portal was in the middle of March Madness, I don't know, but that's what it is. So you're already at a disadvantage because you don't have the resources, you don't have the money like a big Power 5 school. But your superpower was you're able to keep seniors, you're able to keep students. Students that may not be able to transfer stay with you, so they're there for 3-4 years. Well, now you can look and say, all right, I can just transfer to a big school and they pay me money. There's no incentive for me to stay at this mid-major. If this mid-major is paying me, let's say $500K, but I can get $8 million to play for UNC, what are you going to do? So I'm not saying that there can't be a mid-major that makes a run. Hell, if it wasn't for the incredible shot that the Queen from Maryland hit, Colorado State would have debunked all this. Actually, no, they wouldn't have debunked it, but this wouldn't have been a thing. But you're seeing now, look at all the teams. In fact, look at all the teams that are in the Sweet 16. It's no coincidence that I believe, 11 of them are in the SEC? The conference that has the most money because of football? I don't think it's the death of mid-majors. What I do think it is it shows you just really how people view and what people really want to see when it comes to March Madness. Unless that you're just a fan of a school that's still playing, or you know someone that goes, who knows. People tune into college, the March Madness tournament, for upsets. The reason why this is even a topic, and the reason why this is noticeable, because a lot of people pick mid-major schools to make people love the Cinderella story. People love the Cinderella run. So when you see a whole McNeese, and you see how many people are going for McNeese, when you saw how many people were riding for Colorado State, that's not because they went to McNeese. I don't even know where McNeese is. No offense to them. But it's because people want to see an upset. People want to ride that Cinderella train. That, in my opinion, is over. I'm not saying it cannot happen. But what I'm saying is, get used to this. Because I told you guys during the college football year that NILs and the transfer portal is going to drastically change how we see college sports. At the time, I was talking about college football, but I think I made it a point to say sports in general. And now you're seeing the effects of this NIL, the effects of the transfer portal in college basketball. When has the SEC ever been this good? Yes, I know that there have been teams that has won, like Florida. Florida has won the national championship. Auburn's won. When has the SEC been this stacked? It's no coincidence that now that NIL, that schools can pay out NIL, it's no coincidence that the SEC is dominating. It's also no coincidence that the ACC is not. The ACC that has been slow, they've been the dominant program or dominant conference when it comes to college basketball. But they've also had that mindset of, well, we can always get talent. That's what I talked about that with North Carolina. That's why they're in the predicament they're in. That's why the whole ACC has one team representing them in the Sweet 16. And it's no coincidence that that one team dealt out the most NIL money in the ACC. Look, I think it's up for interpretation, as in if this is good for college basketball, if this is good for college sports. I will always say that I want athletes to get paid. I think it's important for athletes to get paid. I am for NIL. I am for a player that makes a school millions upon millions of dollars. I am for them getting their cut. So I am extremely pro NIL. I'm extremely pro players getting paid. But I also understand that there are things that come with that. And this is a byproduct. Mid-majors, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough when the one superpower that you had essentially has been taken away. Because now when a player gets on a big school like a Duke, like a Clemson, like a Ole Miss, you're not going to say always, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose that bidding war because they always have enough money or always have more money than you. And let's not get it twisted. I know people are going to throw out, this is the wild, wild. No, it's not. It's just like real life. It's just like any other company. If you work for Amazon and you're making $150K a year, and then Microsoft says, hey, we'll give you $200K. And then Apple says, hey, we'll give you $350 a year. Where do you think you're going? It don't matter the connections you built over at Amazon. If Amazon's paying you $150K a year and Apple says, hey, we'll pay you $350 to do the same exact thing with better employees, because those employees are getting paid the $350K too. So we're stacked over here. Who do you think is going to win that bidding war? It's just like that in college basketball. You think, hell, look at the manager for McNeese. The manager, homie that's carrying the boombox, was getting like $100K in NIL deal. He left with his coach because he gets more money where they're going. So I think that it is a great thing for college basketball that these players are getting paid. Great thing. But I think that there are some extremely negative side effects to it, and we're seeing it right before our eyes in the tournament. We're seeing it with the mid majors, and honestly, we're seeing it when it comes to entertainment. Now, this is probably going to sound like hate because I'm a North Carolina fan and we lost, but like I talked about it when I was talking about the JuJu Watkins. It's hard. The one thing that the women, even though I think it's a stupid rule, I think it's dumb that on the women's side, you have to stay for like at least 3 years. I think that is asinine. It's like, if I'm good enough as a freshman to go play for the W, why in God's name can I not do that? I think that's so stupid, but that's a rule. But with that, you get people like a JuJu Watkins. You get people like a Hannah Hidalgo or Olivia Miles or Paige Beckerts. People that's been there for a while that you're able to draw a kinship with. You're able to become a fan because they're there for a lot longer. You don't get that with college, with the men's side, because you see a bunch of movement and a bunch of players and just stacked teams. That's why, and you can say I'm wrong. I don't believe so. You can say I'm wrong, but this is, like I said, like the 4th or 5th straight year where not only is there more intrigue, more stardom, more storylines when it comes to the women's side of the tournament than the men's. So no, I don't think NILs have killed the mid-major. I do think that NILs have drastically affected a Cinderella. I don't think we're going to get a lot of Cinderellas from now on, because you're already fighting with both hands behind your back at this point if you're a mid-major. And the other team has a bazooka. So you're not going to get a lot of McNeeses. On top of that, we talked about the transfer portal, and I love what Jay Billis said it because it's true. It's like there's coaches that are coaching right now that have already agreed to a new coaching to coach a new school once their team loses in the tournament. So we get upset when students transfer mid tournament, like Scottie Pippen's son, like homie in Penn State football, the backup quarterback that was vital for their team, he transferred. And because I don't know why the transfer dates are when they are, but he had to transfer before I believe the semifinal game. Like, why? I know it aligns with the actual school year, but still, it's weird. But why is there no uproar? Yo, Texas hired the dude that played or that coached Xavier, Sean, I forgot his last name. The coach from McNeese left 10 minutes after McNeese lost with, like I said, the equipment manager guy. Nobody bats an eye when coaches move from school to school, mid-season or They said that they've agreed to a contract while you're still coaching a team in the tournament, but they get all up in arms when a student does it. That's crazy to me. College, more and more, and the last thing I'll say about this is more and more you can see why some of these legendary coaches have left. Like the Roy Williams, like the Coach K's. You can see why they left. Because college basketball, as we know it, has changed. I'm not going to say forever because I don't know what forever holds, but it has changed. And look no further than the mid-majors. Yeah. Why do you think Maryland is so good this year? Maryland has won national championship with Juan Dixon. Why do you think they're good so year? Look at how many transfers they have, one, and how much those transfers and freshmen are getting paid. That's all I'm saying. It's not the death of the mid-majors. I think it is a drastic infliction on Cinderellas. And we're seeing it in real time this year. So let's move over, and I wanna have a real heart-to-heart with the Steelers and the Steeler fan base. I want you guys to know that everything that is going on right now in Pittsburgh is a byproduct of everything that went on at the end of the Big Ben's career. If you want a clear snapshot of how the present can drastically affect the future, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. One thing that when you're in it, you're in it. All right. And I don't think it's just sports. It's anything. When you're in it, you're in it. You don't really think about it ending, especially if you're competing with something or for something, or you're enjoying yourself, whatever it is. When you're in it, you're in it. And you don't really think. A lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people don't really plan for the next steps. They are just so in it, and they're enjoying themselves. They're competing. They don't really think about what's next. I think that's why, on top of poor financial choices, poor spending habits, I think that's why a lot of athletes go broke. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't foresee their life after sports. So they think that the way that they're spending now, the money is they don't think that the money is going to stop eventually. Or I'm not going to say stop. I will say drastically slow down with the rate in which they get paid while they're in it. But I feel like I'm getting a little off topic. So let's get back to the Steelers. At the end of Big Ben's career, as an organization, you have to understand that what we're seeing from Big Ben, even though in real time he was deteriorating, even though in real time you can see, okay, yeah, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the end, because the version of Big Ben that we're getting is not the Big Ben that won Super Bowls and that constantly had the Steelers atop the AFC. We're getting a older, diminished Big Ben. That's what we were getting. And they, as many opportunities as they had, they would not plan for the future. They just kept riding the right now. They kept riding it, and they kept pushing back the future. Well, they pushed it back so far to once it hit their doorstep, they realized that they weren't prepared for it because they kept pushing it back. They kept riding that right now, right now, right now train. So when Big Ben retires and the Steelers realize, oh, shoot, we do not have a successor for Big Ben. We don't have a game plan as to how to build a team outside of Big Ben. Yeah, we always have a defense. Yes, we have a great coach, but that's it. Yeah, we have a couple players on the offensive side of the ball, but that's it. We don't have the engine to make this go. Or I'll say this, the engine to make this go is a coach, or the engine to make this go is a defensive player. And as we've seen, think about this. Aaron Donald is considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest defensive player ever. Surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. Again, you can argue one of, if not the greatest defensive player ever. Aaron Donald didn't win a damn thing until they got Matthew Stafford. Yes, as great as TJ Watt is, that's not going to get it done in today's NFL. Why am I saying all this? Where am I getting at? You look up today, and Aaron Rodgers knows it. Everyone in the media knows it. I think even the fans know it. It is evident and clear that the Steelers are desperate when it comes to trying to get Aaron Rodgers. Mind you, this is the same Aaron Rodgers that had probably his worst year, a fully healthy Aaron Rodgers. Last year was probably his worst year. Not saying he was terrible, but he wasn't great. He was so great, I'll say this, that it was easy for the Jets to cut him. And his man's Devontae Adams. And I don't think a team has been this desperate to get a player. I'm not going to say washed, but not even remotely close to his prime than the Steelers are with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers knows it. Why do you think, obviously he did this before and this is his whole shtick, but why do you think Aaron Rodgers is making the Steelers wait as long as they have to wait? Why do you think every report comes out says he does not want to go to the Steelers? The only issue is the teams that he wants to go to don't want him. He wanted to go to the Vikings. They said nah. He wanted to go, I guess the Giants are still in play, but you just signed Jameis Winston. So this is all a byproduct of not preparing yourself for what's next when it came to Big Ben. And you're probably thinking, bro, Jake, hold on. When did Big Ben retire? When did Big Ben retire? Big Ben retired in 2022. 3 years ago. Big Ben really wasn't great. Well, stopped being great, I'll probably say around 2018, 2019, but just held on until 2022. In that same time, let's look at Steelers quarterbacks. So, since 2022, the Steelers have had start at least one game. Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields. Does any of that sound like, and this is a diminished Russell Wilson, but does any of that sound like a plan? That in 3 years you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starting quarterbacks at least once? And now, I'm not going to go as far, and I'm not going to disrespect them and say that they're begging. But they're trying. It seems like there's one side that is much more, let's say, desperate than the other. And honestly, like, they're also not making smart decisions at the time. Look, as a fantasy owner, or when I did do fantasy football, shit, I've done it like every year, so I can't say when I've done it, but DK Metcalf has always been a fantasy pick for me if he's available. I know how good he is in fantasy. I know his abilities. I know how important and how vital he is to a team. I know that he is a number one option. And probably if you waited, you may not have been able to get him. I understand that too. I understand that it can't just be like, well, if you wait a little longer, because no, there's other teams vying for it and that could maybe offer more than you were willing to give. I understand that. But why sign DK Metcalf to a contract extension as much as they did without having a quarterback to throw him the ball? When you also know that one of his biggest issues and one of the reasons why he is not a Seattle Seahawk is because he did not like the quarterback that he had and the scheme that they ran. Well, now you're going to a place where not only do they have another wide receiver that is going to need as much touches as him, because that's another thing. Tyler Lockett was getting up there in age. Jackson Smith-Njigba was pretty good, but he wasn't DK Metcalf at the time. George Pickens is great. He's a head case, yes, but he's great. But why would you sign him without him knowing the quarterback is going to be throwing him the ball? And on top of that, another person that looks terrible in this whole situation is Russell Wilson. Because what you mean that we're still considered Russell Wilson if we don't get Aaron Rodgers? Did you look? I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers was trash last year, and I'm also not saying that Russell Wilson was the next best quarterback from Lamar Jackson. What I'm saying is, I don't know if you watched last year, Pittsburgh, but Russell Wilson wasn't that much far off than Aaron Rodgers. In fact, in a lot of areas, he was better. And Aaron Rodgers at point, in fact, you can argue, it really is no argument, Aaron Rodgers had more pieces, had more weapons than Russell Wilson. It's all about preparation. If you don't prepare properly, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And if you're behind the 8 ball, like the Pittsburgh Steelers are right now, you seem and look extremely desperate for a quarterback that has, at every single turn, has told you he really don't want to be there. And on top of that, even if you get him, do you think that in a division that has both Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, it also has Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Judy, do you think that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback? Let me see something real quick. The same Aaron Rodgers that just a year ago, I want to remind you guys, just a year ago, with all the talent in the world, we were told, won 5 games. In a division that saw Tua get hurt, had who was Drake May, and obviously Josh Allen. You could only muster up 5 games. 5 wins, I'm sorry. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is the guy to get the job done for? You think Aaron Rodgers is the one to bring that Steeler culture back? No. Well, let me say this. I don't think so. But clearly the Pittsburgh Steelers do. The Pittsburgh Steelers is a cautionary tale. You should, even if you yourself don't want to look into the future, have somebody that is smart enough and that you trust enough to prepare for the future for you. Because if not, you have situations like this. Desperate. And honestly, even the move that you're desperate for ain't going to change nothing. But we'll see what happens. We're going to move on. And I want to thank Jimmy Butler. I want to thank Jimmy Butler because he said something that I have been saying for years. Now, when it comes from me, nobody listens. I get it. And honestly, maybe Jimmy Butler wasn't the right messenger, especially after everything that happened. But he said the same thing I have been saying. I'm not 100% sure who he did an interview with. Shouts out to, I believe it might have been Mark Spears. I don't know. But he did an interview, and they asked him about quote-unquote heat culture and how he feels it went with him when it comes to heat culture. And Jimmy Butler essentially said, I think this is overused. I don't really think, I'm paraphrasing. He says the whole term heat culture is overused. I really don't even think that is a thing. Heat culture is really not a thing. And when I tell you that when I read that, I stood on my table and just started clapping. Because that is what I've been saying forever. Look, I'm not here trashing Pat Riley. I'm not here saying that Pat Riley isn't great at his job. I'm not here saying that Pat Riley hasn't been great in sports or hasn't been great in basketball, especially when he was with the Lakers and now he's with the Heat. But I'm calling a spade a spade. There's no such thing as heat culture. What it is you have great players. Yeah, I'm not saying that Pat Riley isn't a good negotiator. But even in that, I don't think he's been that great. Think about it, man. He had Magic Johnson, Kareem, I believe, James Worthy. Then he had Dwayne Wade, Shaq, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and now Jimmy Butler. Or then Jimmy Butler. Like, I'm not negating the fact that they haven't had success. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you have a better chance at success when you have great players like Hall of Famer Shaq, like Hall of Famer D. Wade, like arguably the greatest player of all time, LeBron James, like arguably a first ballot Hall of Famer or a Hall of Famer, Chris Bosh. arguably going to be a Hall of Famer at the end of his career, Jimmy Butler. In fact, if Heat culture is so great, right? Why were they just on a 10-game losing streak? In fact, what did that Heat culture do between when Shaq left, those years between when Shaq left and LeBron James showed up? Because they still had D Wade. What did that Heat culture do? Or what was that Heat culture looking like from when LeBron James and Chris Bosh left to when Jimmy Butler got there? What was the Heat culture? I understand that there's a way that things are done in Miami. They have the whole body mass, body weight thing they have. You can only have like 5% body fat or something like that. I get it. Their practices are grueling. There's an expectation when it comes to Pat Riley teams that you have to be a certain type of way. I guess in that sense, yes, there's a culture there. But is that really a winning culture? That's what it is. Is that really a winning culture? Or do you just have great players at one time? Who fully healthy? Who was beating that Miami Heat team with prime LeBron James, D Wade, and Chris Bosh? I know you can say the Spurs. Yeah, that was like, and the Dallas Mavericks. That was the first year and the last year. They won 2 in the middle of that. Jimmy Butler led a Heat culture to the finals twice. D Wade and Shaq, shocker, won the finals against the Dallas in 2006. They were calling D Wade the Flash at that time. He was arguably the league. He arguably should have been the league MVP, I believe, in 2006. Like, they keep masking quote unquote Heat culture with just great players and great teams. And teams that, like, yes, I guess you can say, well, they take a bunch of, undrafted players and players that just work hard and they go on playoff runs. Okay. They also, let's not forget, they also had Jimmy Butler. They also had a really good compliment for Jimmy Butler in Bam Adebayo. Like, think about it. Okay, so you have Tyler Hero. Cool. You have Andrew Wiggins in a trade now. Cool. You still have Bam Adebayo. Cool. What are you doing? Where is that Heat culture now? You just snapped a 10-game losing streak. On top of that, how are all those undrafted players doing? In fact, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, where are the Heat in the standings? With all those, 10th. This sounds harsh. It does. And I promise you, I'm not trying to be. I'm just being honest. What is Heat culture? In my opinion, Heat culture is you've had great players. You've had Hall of Fame players go through your door, and shocker, they play like Hall of Famers. You won 3 championships. Think about that. You've won 3 championships as the GM of the Heat. And not one of those championships, not one. In fact, I'll brighten it. You've been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've been to 6 championships. You've won 3. You've been to 6. Pat Riley, as the GM of the Heat, you've been to 6 championships. Not one of those championships that you've been to, your team, you've always had a current, now, or future Hall of Famer. In fact, I'll go a little further. Only 2 of those championship runs. Let me say this. LeBron James is a top 75 player. D Wade is a top 75 player. Shaq is a top 75 player. Shocker. You won a championship with all 3 of those. So, I say this every single time. You can kind of miss me with that whole Heat culture. No, they just had great players. You can feel how you feel about Jimmy Butler. He's a great player. He's great enough to lead a team to the championship twice. Honestly, it could have been 3 times if he hit that game-winning shot against the Celtics. The year, I believe, the Celtics played Golden State in 2022. So it could have been 3. Yeah, man. I think the whole Heat culture takes away from what's true, and that's, you've had Hall of Famers. You had great players. All right. Lastly, before we go, we have the unpopular topic of the day. Good old Doc. Mr. Doc Rivers. I think his name's Glenn. Mr. Glenn Rivers. Oh, boy. He did an interview with somebody. Again, another interview where I'm not 100%. I don't remember your name. I apologize. Next time I'll do more research. I apologize. I think it might be Mark Spears, but I don't necessarily remember. And I'm paraphrasing, but Doc Rivers did an interview and was asked, I guess, about his legacy and his playoff legacy. As we know, there's not a coach on this earth that can blow more 3-1 leads with the best of them than Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers had an interesting take. He was pretty much saying, paraphrasing, of course, that he gets a bad rap. And everyone is always talking about how he blew 3-1 leads and how he lost multiple 3-1 leads and how his teams underachieve in this, that, and the third. And he essentially said, well, no, you got it all wrong. My teams overachieve. A lot of those teams that I had a 3-1 lead wasn't supposed to have a 3-1 lead. No one talks about me getting those teams to those 3-1 leads. They only talk about me losing those 3-1 leads. Are we? I'm confused. Do they give out 3-1 lead trophies? Do you win an NBA championship once you go up 3-1? Do you? Is the season over once the team goes up 3-1? Is Doc Rivers or any coach in the NBA or any sport that has a series, do these coaches coach in the hopes of going up 3-1 or going up 3 games? I've always said this about Doc Rivers, bro. Doc Rivers, and I hate to do this to a black man. I really do. I hate it. But Doc Rivers is one of the most overrated coaches. Yo, I've never seen a team, from the coach to the players, I've never seen a team milk a championship more than the '08 Celtics. Never. I've never seen a team hang on a championship longer than the '08 Celtics. Because obviously you can't do this because, but take away that championship from Doc Rivers. What would Doc Rivers have? In fact, I think that's just the second. I think he's been to 2 championships and lost. Lost 1 and won 1. Yo, Doc Rivers to me is the most overhyped coach out there. Like, not even overhyped. He's not that good of a coach, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being honest. There's nothing about his resume outside of that one championship that says he's a good coach. Doc Rivers might go into the Hall of Fame. Who knows? Shout out, black man. But he's not that good of a coach. He's never been that good of a coach. I'm not going to hold you. I'm not trying to disrespect the job, but when I had prime Ray Allen, prime Kevin Garnett, prime Paul Pierce, I think I could win a championship. Oh, boy. That statement tells me everything I need to know. That statement puts into perspective the fact of almost everyone that's played against him and played on his teams have said that he doesn't make adjustments like that. He's a little bit of tone deaf when it comes to the situation. And honestly, he's not that good of a coach. Who knew that this man was playing for 3-1 leads in a best of 7? The same way I've been talking about Heat culture, I will stand on my soapbox to the end of time. I don't hate him as a person. I don't know him. And yes, I am like Issa Rae. I root for everybody black. So I want success from Doc Rivers. But when you say stuff like this on top of your resume, which technically is why you said what you said, it don't make no sense to me, bro. Actually, it makes all the sense in the world. Because you got a coach here wants the praise and the accolades for winning 3 games and overachieving, even though the overachieving doesn't result in a championship or results. Bro, remember, he was the coach. He was the same coach of that Clippers team that let Josh Smith and Jason Terry, not James Harden, Josh Smith and Jason Terry, tear them up. He was also the same coach that blew leads with Joel Embiid, with Paul George, with Kawhi Leonard, with James Harden, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul, T-Mac. but he should get praise for getting at least 3 wins. There you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Pod. I can't believe he said that, bro. Oh, man. I appreciate you guys. For all my YouTube listeners, please, or YouTube viewers, please subscribe. It means a lot. I appreciate all of you guys. If you know someone that isn't subscribed, hey, man, tell a friend to subscribe. It means so much to me. I'm trying to grow the YouTube. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible, so I can't do it without you guys. Please subscribe. I appreciate it. Also, for my DSP listeners, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, same deal. Please subscribe. Please follow if you love hearing this luscious voice of mine. And you know someone that would enjoy this luxurious voice, and they're not subscribed, pass the podcast along, man. Tell them to subscribe. Tell them to follow. It means so much. No platform is more important than the other. So for all my DSP listeners, please subscribe. Also, for my social media followers, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Please follow there. It means a lot. That's probably the quickest way to get to me. I don't mind you. I don't mind you not agreeing with me. If you keep it respectful, we can go back and forth. It just means A, you're listening to me. B, you're passionate about whatever we're talked about. And C, you have an opinion that you want me to hear. I appreciate every single person that goes back and forth with me and tell me how wrong my take is in a respectful way, or tells me their opinion on something. It means a lot. It means so much to me. And again, you keep it respectful. I don't mind going back and forth. You can go social media and see. I engage. So again, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, please follow. Until next time, much love.